Hey, Josh, I'm going to be direct and straightforward, something that you are not, and something that you refuse to answer. Are you asking people to kill judges? As you are aware, psychological child abuse is as bad as sexual or physical child abuse. I'm not saying this, the American Psychological Association is saying it, linked to the bottom. When you already know that when you go to a sheriff's department and say, I would like to file charges for psychological child abuse, they will refuse to write. If you don't believe me, speak to Len Hageman, the sheriff in Watauga County. Right now, we have 800 judges accused of child abuse, not just any child abuse, psychological child abuse. This is where, as part of the Department of Justice is concerned, emotional domestic violence is destroying a parent's relationship with his or her children. Your judges, and just in North Carolina alone, over 30 judges are accused of psychological child abuse. Not one of us can go to a sheriff's department and have them write a report. Oh, I know. Maybe we should go to the DHHS, or Division of Child Services in North Carolina. Well, we can't, because there's no procedure, and they refuse to investigate psychological child abuse. How do I know this? Because I've spoken to Chad Slagle, Tom Hughes. He's the director of Watauga County Child Services. I've also contacted Valerie Johnson. She's the child welfare policy consultant who told me directly there are no policies, there are no procedures for determining psychological child abuse. Just to let you know, psychological child abuse is in the DSM-5 under V995.51. It is one of the most atrocious forms of abuse to a child, usually lasting their entire lives. Oh, that's not me saying this. That's the American Psychological Association. Link down below. They wrote a letter to Donald Trump in 2018, June 14th. So you don't want to do anything. You put your attorney, Hugh Harris, and said, hey, make this go away because I can't get into the middle of it. I know why you can't get into the middle of it. Here's the deal, where all the money goes, how it comes in. I spoke to Sarah Molesky. She's the public relations with DHHS. She told me that North Carolina gets $200 million a year from Title IV D&E. And that money comes from the federal government, goes right into the general fund. Oh, where does that general fund go? Goes into your paycheck. Goes into a lot of people's paychecks. But a lot of it also goes to the Judicial Retirement Fund. Yes, for every judge that's out there, they are making money. They are getting their retirement paid for from the abuse of children. So when you go into family court and you're dealing with these child predators in black robes, okay, now that's what they are, because they are profiting from child trafficking. So if you go in there and you were to know, if you were to go into any court session and you were to know that that judge is receiving money based on a decision, and by the way, your kids are in the middle of it, yeah, that's exactly what happens. Sarah Molesky told me $200 million comes into North Carolina. Just to let you know, it's $70 billion throughout the entire United States, but North Carolina gets $200 billion. And I spoke to Patrick Kinlaw. He's the director of the Judicial Retirement Fund. He told me that about 88% of that money, of their retirement fund, comes from the general fund. So they are making money. The judicial is making money from that. Now, where do you go in this instance? Well, turns out, this is a funny thing, that if you go to the state bar, your attorney in her law firm that worked on your child custody case can also defend 3 years later the people who refused to do an investigation from the sheriff, Len Hageman, Division of Child Services, DHHS. They will protect them, and there's no conflict of interest. I'm asking you this question again, and we'll get to it later. Are you asking parents who are being destroyed by family court, by child abusers in family court, that where they have no place to go? Are you asking these parents, these grandparents, and these families to shoot and use their Second Amendment right is the only way they're going to be able to protect their kids, because DHS ain't working, Sheriff's Department's not working. And if you go to Christopher Laws with the SBI, he refuses to do an investigation, as well as them. And now let's talk about Christopher Wray and the FBI. They are set up to hang up on you, because the one thing they know is that it's okay to abuse a child as long as it's in the middle of a custody case. How do I know this? Because I've called them up at least a dozen times. Every one of the FBI, from Richard Sutherland over in Hickory to his supervisors, to the supervisors over in Charlotte, and all the way up, I sent Christopher Wray, the director of the FBI. I sent him a letter. Hey, we have 800 judges accused of child abuse. We cannot find one sheriff to write a report. How does a parent protect their children from a child being torn out of their lives, being ordered out of their lives? How does a parent protect that child when they are watching that child being psychologically torn apart through psychological child abuse? Now, we're going into 2023, where I have the pleasure of not seeing or hearing from my children again. They're adults. They're 24, 25, and 28. And because of their abuse from Judge Hal Harrison and Judge F. Warren Hughes. By the way, Judge Hal Harrison has 7+ people who've contacted me asking me what to do, because he's also abusing their kids. Okay. We have serial child abusers as judges. Judge Rebecca Eggers is a child abuser. When she was an attorney, her thing was, separate him from his children and destabilize him. And she absolutely was right about that. When you have your children ripped out from under you, it destabilizes a person. And especially when family court is so nepotism and they'll do anything for their brothers and sisters and whatever, is that they don't give a shit about the best interests of the child. They give a shit about, how can we take care of our friends? How can we get our paychecks? So when a person, a family member, a parent, sees their children being abused and they go to DHHS and there's no procedure for psychological child abuse to determine what it is. By the way, it's not like there's a void of how to determine this. You can go to Dr. Craig Childress, you can go to Dr. Bill Barnett, you can go to Dr. Amy Baker, you can go to Dr. Jennifer Jill Harmon, you can go to a plethora, Richard Warshak, you can go through a million different doctors on this subject, and you could figure out, here's a plan. Here's a way where we can determine whether or not a child is having a serious attachment bond with a parent. We can actually determine they're going through psychological child abuse. If there's an emotional cutoff with a parent, we're able to see all this. We're able to differentiate that from sexual abuse, physical abuse, and psychological abuse. The fact is, 100% of DHHS and Division of Child Services, they make their money from Title IV D&E. Comes into the general fund and they get paid. The more they separate kids and parents, the more they get paid. So that reminds me, are you actually asking us that the only way to protect our kids is to use our Second Amendment? And do we use that against, are you saying that we should use this against the judge? Or are you saying we should use it against the DHHS? Or are you saying that we should use our Second Amendment against the Sheriff's Department? There was recently a child abuser. He ordered a parent away from his children, who he's been fighting for, Judge Wilkinson in Maryland. And they made him out to be this pillar of the community, but I could see through that. And he was tearing a father away from his kids. And that father did the only thing he knew how to do, which was use his Second Amendment right and give that judge exactly what he asked for, which was his own suicide, because that father believed that that judge was destroying his relationship with his children. From my understanding, he was found acquitted of any type of child abuse, anything like that. And so they made this horrible, horrible thing from the judges and the police department and made a big thing with the media and all that stuff, that they were going to get this guy. But they didn't look and said, this judge was separating him from his children. and was destroying him from the inside out. It was all about, protecting this pillar of the community. These guys are not pillars of the community. They're child abusers, and they're making money from child abuse. We have 800 judges accused of child abuse, and not one sheriff will write a report. Not one DHS agent, not one Division of Child Services agent will do an investigation because it interferes with their money. Now, I'm not talking about sexual abuse. I'm not talking about physical abuse. I'm talking about psychological abuse. And just to let you know, in North Carolina, there's a statute that serious mental injury, such as psychological child abuse, is to be deemed as physical abuse of a child, but still no person who is adult enough in DHHS will actually do an investigation because it will interfere with their money stream. Again, I'm asking you, are you asking parents that the only thing that what they should do to protect their kids, use their Second Amendment and kill a judge? Is that really what you're saying? That you will refuse to even answer this? You won't even partake in a discussion about this. You will not react when we try and approach you. Your answering service and your people answer the phones say it is perfectly fine to psychologically abuse a child as long as it is during a custody battle. It is perfectly fine to abuse a child as long as there's some kind of custody. I want an answer, not just me. Tens of millions of people across the United States. And this goes to all the attorney generals. This goes to all the sheriff's departments, all the police departments. Now, I am not saying that everyone should pick up arms and go harm people, but you're saying it because you're not doing your job. Because in every state across the entire United States, there is a mandatory reporting of child abuse. There is 2 hours an immediate response that reports need to be written, calls need to be made, people need to be set up to take care of them and protect these children. Not in the U.S. Not when we have all these laws, but not one of you, not one sheriff's department, not one police department, not one local prosecutor, not one SBI agent, not one FBI agent, not one attorney general, not one politician will raise a finger to help somebody out, to help a child out. Oh, we need to make more laws. No, we have the laws on the books. They're not being followed. How do I report somebody who fails to write a report for child abuse? Who do I make that out to? Police, not our jurisdiction. SBI, we're not getting involved. FBI, we're not getting involved. Go back to the same sheriff's department, go to another sheriff's department. There's a sheriff's association. No one's going to write anything about another sheriff. Are you asking people that the only way to protect your children is to use your Second Amendment right because all these people are refusing to do their job? Please answer the question. Oh, and when you go out, we got to get the Department of Justice. You heard what this guy said. Would you do me a favor? I have on my website, childabusivejudges.com, where we have 800 judges accused of child abuse. Go over to the sheriff's department where it says Len Hageman. Would you please tell them to file child abuse charges against these serial child abusers? Rebecca Eggers, Judge Hal G. Harrison, Judge F. Warren Hughes. Also, while you're at it, please file failure to report child abuse against Len Hageman, against the director, Tom Hughes and Chad Slagle, against Valerie Johnson with the DHHS, and the tens of thousands of other parents that are out here trying to make any kind of semblance of why they can't see their kids during this Thanksgiving or Christmas or next year. What you're doing is you're abusing kids, and you think by being quiet, it's going to go away. No, it's not. Okay. I'm telling you right now, there's so many people understand what is going on that we're sick of it. Do your job. I want to file child abuse charges, failure to report child abuse charges against you. Who do I speak to? Who do I go to make sure that they actually write the report? I have at least 100 people in North Carolina, and I have tens of thousands of people throughout the entire United States that want to file failure to report child abuse against sheriff's departments, police departments, DHHS, Division of Child Services, attorney generals, FBI, SBI. Who do we go to? Oh, and by the way, the North Carolina Judicial Standards Commission, you cannot go to them and report a judge because they have so much money coming in on their retirement. And there's a big thing about the Brotherhood in Black, and they will protect every judge at the expense of people's civil rights. And please, please, please stop telling us all, oh, well, just if you felt you were done wrong, go to court. Really? That's where we are, in court. And so we're going to go back to the same courtroom who doesn't believe in due process, who doesn't believe in child welfare, who doesn't process for a refusal to report child abuse. There's a million things. Are you asking us that the only way to protect our children from psychological child abuse, a shared persecutory delusion, being torn apart from your children by judge-ordered child abuse and domestic violence? Are you asking us, because nothing else is working and they're ignoring all the laws, that the only thing left to do? Are you actually asking us to use our Second Amendment right? I fucking demand that you answer this for all the children out there, for all the parents that aren't going to be able to see their kids this fall, this Christmas, who won't hear from them. I demand that you answer this question. And again, oh, if you get worried, oh my God, oh, this guy is going out and saying this stuff. Yeah, he's saying it. My name is Ken Gottfried. You abused my kids and you refused to answer the questions that so many other people are asking. Why don't you follow the directions and the statutes of all the laws of the land for reporting child abuse? Where do we go to report child abuse, or will actually be reported when it's psychological child abuse? Thank you. I eagerly await your response.